everyone, and welcome to episode 53 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. Not much to complain about.
Yeah, I guess I'm doing all right. Yeah, just the normal strokes of life.
The everyday rigmarole.
The usual day. Same shit, different day.
Anime Banter podcast, a little low energy today, maybe.
Yeah, we're all heading to the office for that quote unquote 9 to 5.
The weather's been dreary.
All the rain. Ugh,
Temperature swings. It's hot. It's cold.
You
terrible.
know, usual early springtime Pittsburgh weather.
Yeah, just the gray. It saps the energy right from you.
It sure does.
Well, as depressing as that can be, I got a rant.
Anime Ranter. Rant!
What the fuck is up with the Crunchyroll app? Don't get me wrong. I like Crunchyroll, okay? Crunchyroll as a company, as an application, as a business, you provide the American people with anime from Japan, from Korea now. We're getting all these different sources and you have it in multiple languages for multiple people to watch and enjoy. Your app fucking sucks. Oh my god! Like every time I use Roku with my television. Okay, so I'm on the app on Roku, and I finished watching a season, the last episode of the season of whatever show, and instead of going to like season 2, it goes back to season 1 in a different language because it layers everything out that way. Don't do that. There should be a setting where I can set I want Japanese audio with English subtitles. Everything else goes away. Or I want English audio with no subtitles. Everything else goes away. So when I'm done with season 1, it'll throw me right into season 2 or 3 or whatever, and I can continue watching. Make that happen. We're in 2024.
Well, what's crazy is Crunchyroll, or not Crunchyroll, the Funimation app had that.
Yeah.
I've used both, and I was actually really disappointed when Funimation was going away and Crunchyroll was staying, because I've always liked the Funimation app way more,
Yeah.
and I guess just Crunchyroll is more popular, so it won.
Well, there's still no Crunchyroll app for smart TVs.
Are you kidding me?
No, I have a Samsung smart TV, and like you can install apps on your TV and everything, like your streaming apps and everything, and you type in Crunchyroll and it brings back Funimation.
No, it's on my Roku TV. I have a Roku smart TV, so it must be whatever the Samsung software is not compatible.
I have a Roku stick, so I just plug that into my TV. But still, I mean, like, it's 2024, and like, what is it? Sony bought out Crunchyroll and Funimation and just rolled them together. So I get it. There's a transition period that's happening, but the Crunchyroll app hasn't really changed since this whole thing before this whole thing started. Like, you need to really update this app.
And like the merger has and the sale has happened how many years ago now?
Yeah.
And there's just been like no they're just now saying like, "Oh, hey, do you want to like merge your Funimation watch into Crunchyroll?" It's like, no." Like or like if you hit no, it's like, "No, I'm good." It's like, "Okay, well, you boot it up another time." "Hey, do you want to do this?" It's like, I literally just said no. I don't want to do this. But do you want to do it again?
And I know this is like old news, but the if you put a movie code into Funimation, that movie's not on Crunchyroll. You lose your code. You get nothing back. Thanks for buying a digital copy of this movie. Now you can't watch it. I know that's old news, but that's still a thing. So
Well, yeah,
yeah,
people are starting to realize that they don't own their digital media.
yes, that's why I dislike digital media. I want a physical copy of things. This is exactly the reason why, because somebody on the back end can pull the plug and you spent money and now you have nothing to show for it.
It's also people are pirating again.
Well, that's also true.
But I also want to, I have a theory about the Funimation app, and that's So let's talk subscription services, right? I think about like my Hewlett Packard printer, or how they want me to like pay a subscription service that'll automatically like order ink for me and like yeah, crap like that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, why? Okay, every app has a subscription feature. All these loot boxes with subscription features. Subscribe to this. Amazon, subscribe and save. Right? I'm like, why are they obsessed with these subscribe features? The answer is people are too lazy to stop paying. And that sounds dumb, but there are people who will pay. I've paid for apps for streaming that I haven't used for months. Like Disney Plus, I barely use it, but I pay every month because people set it and forget it. And unless you're watching your finances meticulously, you just forget that it's there, right? So I have a funny feeling that people are either paying for Crunchyroll and Funimation, or they're just paying for Funimation. And they've taken so long to shut down the Funimation app because they're still making money on it. So like, because people would just set their subscriptions and forget about it, like they're just giving free money to the Crunchyroll people. Like, why would you shut down the service if people are just giving you money still, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's why they're going to raise the price of Crunchyroll in the coming year to make up for that. But yeah, that's my theory about subscription services, and I don't know. I'm 100% right about it. So it's not a theory. It's just how it is. I'm a business guy.
And now it's like, oh, well, you're paying for the subscription, but we're going to start including ads onto your subscription. So if you want no ads, we're going to have to charge you more.
That's wrong. That's wrong on so many levels. If I'm paying you, I should not have ads. Because Crunchyroll has a free version, which has ads. Fine, whatever. I don't want to pay. I get the ads every, 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever. Watch a 30-second ad or two, move on. If that's fine, if you're fine with that, that's fine, whatever. But like I pay for Crunchyroll. I don't want to see any ads. I shouldn't have to pay more to dodge ads. I'm already paying you. That's wrong. You shouldn't do that.
I was told that back in the day, when cable first arrived, cable TV did not have ads on it, which sounds crazy, right? But that's
Yeah.
how it was. Cable TV didn't have ads. That was the bonus. Like instead of getting TV over the airwaves through your antenna that was on your TV or on your roof, you would pay a premium and you would get a couple extra channels and they wouldn't have ads. And we're watching the same thing happen here where cable TV devolved into whatever the heck it became towards the end here of its life. Cable TV is terrible, man. It is so bad. Like there's 60 channels and there's nothing good on half the time. I so I don't have cable. I'm a cord cutter, but I actually also didn't grow up with it, so I wasn't really missing much. But yeah, we're going through this with the streaming services now. It's like cable all over again. Brand new service, people love it, and now they're ruining it for the sake of greed. So I once again, I don't condone it necessarily, but people are just gonna start pirating again. I had a ton of friends who pirated a lot of things back in the mid 2000s, right? Uh, and I'm starting to see it again a little bit because now if you pay for all the streaming services you want, you have to pay $60 a month, the price of basic cable.
You're not missing much on the basic cable. There's more ads than there is programming.
Yeah, I still rather pay for 5 streaming services than basic cable though.
Absolutely.
Any day, yeah.
Absolutely. At least they're things that I'm going to watch at some point.
Yeah, it's like almost an unlimited amount of anime on Crunchyroll.
If only they could fix their app. So, Crunchyroll, I challenge you. I know you're not going to hear this. We're just we're not that famous, but Crunchyroll, I challenge you to improve your application so all can watch easier because your app sucks.
And Crunchyroll, if you're listening to this and you would like to sponsor us,
After I
all of a
bashed you.
sudden I will have no problems with your app, and I think it's a perfect piece of software. What is sellout Sean over here?
Sellout Sean. Thank you, Sellout Sean. And again, I don't hate you, Crunchyroll. Your app just sucks. It just needs fixed. This is something that's doable. It's 2024. Time to step up the game.
Anime Ranter.
All right, I feel better. How about you guys?
Yeah, that brought the energy up for me.
I'm feeling alive.
Got the blood pumping.
Yeah, all we need was a little rage to bring us back into it.
Little old rant. Well, thanks for letting me detour us right from the get go. But let's talk about some free rent, some positivity. You guys ready?
Always.
Let's do it.
Today we are talking about episodes 25 and 26 of Free Rent Beyond Journey's End. Episode 25, A Fatal Vulnerability. Free Rent opens the episode by saying that they lack the information to make a conclusion and the replica Free Rent may not have a mind, that they may need to use brute force to defeat it. Dankin asks if Frieren can do that, and even she is hesitant to say if it's possible. At this point, Fern raises her hand, saying that she might be able to kill the replica of Frieren.
It was really interesting to see Zarya being shown when Fern was saying she might be able to kill replica Frieren.
I also thought that was kind of interesting. Maybe Zarya knows about Frieren's weakness as well.
The group comes up with a strategy. Frieren is going to find Adel, I think that's how you pronounce that, Adel, and bring her to the bottom of the dungeon. Adel will hypnotize the fake Frieren, and Fern will move in for the kill. Just then, good old Dusty arrives on the scene. As he bleeds out, he tells the others Adel took herself out of the test, and Bald Guy stood between Dusty and the copy of Senza. Matoda is able to heal Dusty, and he wants to join the rest of the group. Denkin grumbles that he wanted that from the beginning. Listen to your elders, kids.
Bold jobber making the sacrifice for Dusty. R.I.P. Not that he really died, but, he took himself out of the test.
He could have died.
He could have. Also, I wonder if someone other than Denkin if someone other than Denkin pitched, hey, we should all work together, if it would have actually happened from the jump.
Yeah, like if Frieren would have been like, hey, everyone who wants to work with me, the person who dispelled the barrier, it like beat Dankin in a duel easily. I People might have been like, maybe I'd like to go along. But then once she got stuck in a mimic or something like that, they probably would have just walked away and been like, yeah, this is more trouble than I thought.
Like, yes, it is I, the mage that defeated the Demon King. And then she gets trapped in a mimic. They're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Are we sure you just don't have the same name? Coincidences happen.
Dusty reveals to everyone that the copies do not have a mind, as Adel was unable to hypnotize the Senza clone. Denkin says they cannot strategize any further without knowing who created the duplicates and why. Just then, Lavina and Kana arrive to join the others. Lavina tells everyone that a monster called the Spiegel created the copies, and that one of her brothers was in the advanced party that first explored this dungeon. I thought they said this dungeon was unexplored.
That's a good point, Turtle, because they totally said that. So I guess they can mean unexplored in the fact that nobody has successfully explored the entire dungeon and defeated the Spiegel. But it does feel like a very convenient plot point with Lavina knowing this. And like, why would she just not bring this up from the get-go and then work with Freerun from the beginning?
Yeah, they claimed that Frieren and Fern ran off before they could talk to them. But it's not like Frieren and Fern went sprinting into the dungeon. They just walked at a casual pace inside. It's very obvious that for the plot and for the character development and things like that, the writer purposely chose to not bring the other two in. And that's fine with me. It's kind of nitpicky, I guess, on my part to think it's kind of like a problem. But yeah, sometimes you have to make imperfect decisions as a storyteller to tell a better story, I guess. But also, every time they say the Spiegel, I think about Spike Spiegel. So
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
yeah, okay. They're like the Spiegel. I'm like, Spike, are you here? This is the wrong anime.
Richter says that the two of them have a leg up, which is the only reason they made it this far. What an asshole! Richter tells the two they should have teamed up since Denkin's group could have used that knowledge more effectively. Lavina responds by saying she doesn't trust Richter and that he might abandon his allies. Yeah, I could see that happening.
If I was Lavina, I also wouldn't trust Richter after the first exam. Like, the dude tried to kill both her and Kana without, like, once he realized Danko was in trouble, he's like, oh yeah, it's murdering time.
Yeah, did he literally not say it's time to kill a kid or something? Like, what
Yeah,
the hell?
yeah.
Yeah, and then he's just salty. That's why he's so mean here. He's salty about losing in the first round. He's just lucky to be here, all right? But he doesn't, he refuses to admit that.
And, like, as you just said, Sean, like, very convenient that Kana's like, oh yeah, Frieren and Fern raced off without us. It's like, that's one of my issues with this episode, is it's very plot convenient at times. It's like, could we not have done this a little bit better? It's like, oh, there was a diverging path, we got split up. Like, there was a door that shut. Like, something to split the party up instead of, oh, Frieren and Fern ran off without us.
I like that idea, Mike, about how how they had the one person, she got blasted early and she was in the spike room with the walls closing in. Surely they could have been in a fight and had the dungeon change its walls or something and they get separated. I mean, they
And,
could have
like,
made up a reason to
yeah,
separate instead of being like, oh, they walked too fast.
yeah, because I mean,
What
you
is
think,
that?
like, Senza almost stepped on a booby trap. Oh, oops, she stepped on that booby trap and the floor gave out, and now Lavina and Connor are separated from the rest of the group. Boop, boop, problem solved.
Lavina informs the group that the Spiegel itself is weak, and once it is destroyed, the doppelgangers will also disappear. Frieren says her copy cast a sealing spell on the door behind her, one of the most powerful folk spells. The only way through the door is to kill the caster. Dankin has had enough talk and is ready for action. Lavina says they had all better hurry because the clones are slowly making their way to the bottom as well. This could get ugly fast.
Dankin is ready to throw hands again. He's like, screw the magic. Let's throw it down old school style.
I love it.
One of the things about the folk spells that did Frieren say that it has a chance of killing the caster as well?
I'm not
Did anyone else?
sure.
I did not pick
Maybe
up on that.
I made that up. Sorry, listeners, if I made that up. But I thought the spell had a chance to kill the caster, as well as the only way to make it stop is to kill the caster or have the caster lift it. But I do wonder what this test would have been like if, say, Free Run wasn't here. Would it have been a much more peaceful round two? Because they probably could have made it to the Spiegel by now. You know what I'm saying? Like I think they would have passed the test.
That's very possible. Fern says they have a good chance at beating the copy of Frieren and asks the real Frieren to stand up against the wall. With Frieren in place, Fern summons her staff and fires a quick shot at her. Of course, it is blocked, but Dankin saw the weakness himself. Lavina and Kana have no idea what they are looking for. Dankin tells them that when Frieren casts a spell, for a split second, her mana detection is weakened. Apparently, this is a common mistake that beginners make. Frieren is embarrassed and says she was never very good at trying to fix it. We get a montage of the group coming up with a new plan, and of course, Lavina is pulling on Kana's hair. Fern comments that Frieren seems to be enjoying herself, to which Frieren smiles and nods.
I totally understand why Frieren is so embarrassed to not have mentioned her flaw. Like, everyone is like, oh, the great and powerful Frieren, the Demon King Slayer. Like, everyone knows Frieren in some sort of capacity. And her weakness is something that in a basic mage learns how to do very quickly.
It reminds me like someone who is you like Albert Einstein, for example, right? Albert Einstein was a brilliant physicist and mathematician, but he had dyslexia and and like couldn't read and write well because of it. And it kind of reminds me of that, like people who are just brilliant but are just missing one thing, right? And maybe this is the same thing because dyslexia is a legitimate disability, and Freelance is potentially just her not trying very hard to gain that skill. But I guess my point is that even people of great genius have weaknesses, right? Because nobody's perfect, no matter what. So it's actually really cool seeing. I could see some people maybe complaining that this show, Frieren, doesn't have enough weaknesses. She's the ultimate broken character. She's OP, and here we are. Oh, looks like she does have a weakness. Some people might think it's not really a big deal because she's still busted, but there's a weakness. We finally seen one. So I don't know. And also, I liked Freeren's reaction. I like when they just give her like funny faces. So just another fun face of Freeren.
We flash back to Himmel and the party fighting a dragon looking monster. Himmel comes up with a plan for everyone except Heiter. He gets the day off since he's hungover. Eisen says he's dead. The dragon sees them, and the team moves to action. Eisen takes it head on. Frieren attacks from the side, and Himmel drops in from above for the final blow. Quick and easy. Frieren tells Fern this meeting reminds her of the old days.
I got a great laugh at Hyder being so hungover that Eisen assumed he was dead.
He says it so nonchalantly too,
Like,
he's
so
dead.
matter of fact. He's so matter of fact. Like, there's no sarcasm to it. It's like, yeah, he's dead. He's dead. He's dead, Jim.
Yeah, the hangover hider had killed me when like he was laying against like a pillar, dead, and then later they show Freerun like casting from the rocks, and he's laying on a rock. So either he went up there or someone lifted him and brought him onto the rocks with Freerun.
Well, Frieren was just carrying him with her magic.
Oh, for sure, yeah, lifting. The way that oh my gosh, what's his name always has to do that to his
Shar-
with his team.
Warble.
Werble.
Yeah, Warble. Yeah, Warble always has to carry his team. Freerun probably did that quite a few times for the Heroes Party.
I love seeing Frieren being so happy to remember her days with the party because, like, in those early episodes when like she's still with the original party, she's like very whatever, like not caring about the mortality of everyone, and like it's like, oh yeah, you'll die, I'll still be alive. Like, what, like it, but now it's like her reminiscing about those days and watching her be so happy. It's just so touching. And then I got a really good laugh when they were drawing up this new plan. In the background, Lavina was putting Kana in like an abdominal stretch looking hold. And I was laughing my ass off at it.
It's a fun visual gag. Oh, something I forgot to mention was when they show Himmel do anything, he is crazy. Like he just killed that dragon in one hit. And he's like he's unbelievably fast and strong. And I'm like, dang, I want to see like a real fight with Himmel in it because I think it could really be something.
The new plan is decided. Fern and Frieren will battle the Frieren copy, while the others head back up and deal with the rest of the clones to buy as much time as possible. Inside the room, Frieren and her copy begin by taking to the air. They both cast the same lightning spell and begin blowing up the room, while Fern takes cover. As they battle, they end up back on the ground, face to face. A giant stone from the wall falls on both of them, and instead of moving out of the way, they cast the same fire spell just to melt the rock. This fight looks incredible.
The visuals on this battle are so freaking good. Like that purple laser beam looking attack, that was so cool looking. And I love seeing Frieren using non-basic spells in battle.
Yeah, remember when Fern was like, "Oh yeah, Zoltrok is enough to beat mages of this era." Well, Freeren's not a mage of this era, so she gets to go all out with the most insane spells.
Before entering the room, Frieren told Fern to attack with Zoltrak. Because Frieren is an elf, Zoltrak has only been around for a short while, short in quotations. For Fern, however, it has existed for her entire life. It is the quickest spell and would be difficult for Frieren to block, especially while battling a powerful opponent like herself. Fern watches the battle and waits for her opportunity to strike.
Couple things here. One, even Frieren knows how terrifying her power can be, which really says something. Because, like, I know we always go to the DBZ well, but like no one is ever Goku's never like, oh yeah, I'm so strong, it's terrifying to me. Like Frieren is like, yeah, I'm so strong, it's frightening. And then 2, Lavina has Kana and a surfboard in the background while Frieren explains why Zoltrak is the way to go for Fern. And I just love this trope between Lavina and Kana. It's the best.
They love the wrestling moves. How long till we see the German suplex?
I'm waiting for a sharpshooter.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one. Yeah, though I was curious about why Frieren isn't casting Zoltrak on herself. Well, I guess these other spells. So we say like the other spells are more powerful, but then you realize that like when Frieren fought the demon who created Zoltrak, she couldn't beat him. She had to petrify him and just wait because she didn't have a spell that could actually beat him because Zoltrak was faster and stronger than everything she had. So, I'm kind of confused as to why Frieren's not just using the Zoltrak machine gun against herself because I think that the other spells may be more flashy than they need to be. And she could, that's the whole reason she taught for Zoltrak the whole time. You don't need to use flashy spells. Just beat them down with the same spells. So I don't know. I'm kind of, and if she said it's hard for me to defend against Zoltrak, then why not use it against yourself?
I'm just gonna go out on a limb. I think that the obvious, like realistic answer is what they did. Looks way cooler. But at the
World of
same,
Cool.
yeah, at the same time though, like an in-universe reason, perhaps, and I'm speculating here. Perhaps if Frieren were to use the Zoltrak spell on the copy of herself, it would probably respond with Zoltrak back to her. So I think in order to have the copy cast these, larger, elaborate spells, which take longer to give Fern more of a chance to hit that opening, I think that's why she's not using it on herself. Because it seems to just be copying everything the real Freeren's doing. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like you said, because it looks cool might be the actual reason.
Yeah, and it does in fact look cool.
When all else fails, do something cool.
After Flamma passed away, Frieren returned to Zarya to deliver Flamma's will. It tells Zarya that the Emperor has approved the study of magic and has created the Imperial Mages. Flamma wished for Zarya to take over the Imperial Mages now that she has passed. Zarya gets upset and tears up Flamma's will. She tells Frieren that within a few short decades, humans will be able to use magic, and that is not what Zarya wanted. Frieren tells Zarya that Flamma knew this would happen, but told Frieren to deliver the message anyway. Frieren says goodbye and says she will probably never see Zarya again. Zarya stops her, though, and asks to take a walk with Frieren before she goes. Zarya says that Flamma loved magic and wanted everyone to experience it. That became her dream, to give the gift of magic to humankind. Now that the humans have magic, it will only take 1,000 years to bring the era of humans. Zarya tells Frieren not to neglect her training. If she is to be killed, it will be by the Demon King or by a human mage.
Whew. A lot to unpack here. Like, when Zarya was telling Frieren about, like, watch your back and you'll die from either the Demon King or a human mage, and humankind shouldn't have magic. It's like, what I was thinking during this, like, speech was like, man, we thought Frieren was emotionless. And then, like, we learned that Zarya trained Flamma on a whim, that she's not sad about the death of Flamma, and like goes as far to call Flamma greedy for wanting to give humankind magic and like letting them learn it. And then she calls the Flamma's favorite spell, the one that created a field of flowers, useless at best, foolish at worst. And it's like, wow, like this was your apprentice at one time and you just don't give a fuck at all about her. And then, like, so while Zarya is telling Frieren about these things, like, I started wondering, I'm like, the way Zarya is talking to Frieren Does this play any part in why Frieren is so emotionless at the start of this season?
I think a lot of the elves kind of just appear emotionless because they have such a different outlook on life, right? I'm trying to remember. Croft wasn't emotionless, but he wasn't like overly emotional either.
He's also a lot older, I believe.
Well, he might just be like an incredibly mature person who has a pretty good handle over their emotions, right? And Freeren's kind of that way. Like she's pretty mature for them in some ways. Yes, in some ways no. Uh, there were some interesting things here, and one thing that being human, Zarya. One of the reasons Zarya doesn't want humans to get magic is because she doesn't want there to be a level. She doesn't want humans to get the advantage in the fight against the demons. She's like, no, things are good now. Like humans just fighting demons to the death. Like this is cool. We're down with this. But if the humans win, she's like, oh, it's gonna be so boring. There's gonna be all this peace. Ugh. And I'm like, oh, she doesn't know humans. Once humans are done fighting demons, they'll just fight each other. But she doesn't know that yet.
That's
'Cause that's
sad
what
but
we
true.
do. Yeah, that's what we do.
Back at the main event, Frieren is face to face with her double. She smiles and turns to the side as Fern fires a blast that engulfs the double. Ending credits.
What an amazing visual to end this episode.
Well, since the episode's over, I think we need a break before we jump into episode 26. What do you got for us, Mike?
Well, you know what they say, alcohol is the best medicine. And that means it's time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week's beer comes to you from Lakefront Brewing, and it is their River West Stein, a 5.6% amber lager full of caramel sweetness that uses Magnum, Mount Hood, and Cascade hops. This is their flagship amber lager. It's a pretty standard lager, and it has a really nice flavor profile. There's not a ton to say about this. Like, it's a very standard, very basic, great flavor to it. For being like a mass produced lager, I really enjoy this lager. Like, it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, flagship lager, and just sort of mail it home. But this is a really good one. Um, most beers from Wisconsin are really good. Like, most craft beers are really good from Wisconsin. So if you find a Wisconsin brewery, you're probably going to get a good beer from it. Just saying. But the average untapped rating is a 3.61, and I give it a 3.75.
Thanks, Mike. You inspired me to get an alcoholic beverage to continue this episode with.
Hey, you're welcome.
So, with that, let's get into episode 26, The Height of Magic. Frieren and Frieren are still fighting. The animation from these spells looks so cool. Frieren makes this fiery black hole explosion, and then Frieren counters with this giant golem and it shoots some lightning. It just looks amazing. All of a sudden, Fern sneaks up behind Frieren and fires Zoltrak. Not fast enough. Frieren was able to block the attack. Frieren says this is going to be a battle of attrition. Did you guys follow that okay?
Yeah, Frieren did something, and then Frieren did something, and then Frieren did something, and then Fern did something, and then Frieren did something else.
I guess you just had to watch it for yourself.
Just had to be there.
It's so good though.
I was going to say, this is an amazing way to start an episode. Like, right off the jump, it's like, action, go. And, like, the battle is so visually stunning. Watching Frieren open up her bag of tricks is great to see. And, like, watching her use all this non-basic magic, it's like, all right, are we going to get to see Fern use something that's non-basic?
We won't. Maybe someday.
But yeah, Madhouse Studios, I applaud you. It looks great. Denkin and the others have their plan. Matoda is able to tell where all the copies are, which is a very useful ability, by the way. They break off into teams to stop all the duplicates. Lavina and Richter, of all people, pair up to stop the copies of Lavina and Kana. Dusty and Kana take on Richter's copy, and Laufin battles Matota's copy. Before they split up, Matota says she is unable to locate Zenza's copy as well as Fern's copy. Richter tells Senza she should not have come into the dungeon to make things easier for everyone else. Zenza tells him that a first class mage should be able to overcome adversity and unfairness. She also says that this does not qualify as either. What?
So I really love Denkin's plan of like, all right, everyone sit down, figure out who your worst matchup is that you would be weak against in a fight, and that's what replica you're gonna go against. Like, it's a perfect plan. And then like the montage of Lavina, Richter, Dusty, Kana, and Loffen fighting the replicas is fantastic. And then Sensa's just an odd one. Like, she calls this test kind and peaceful. What test has she been watching?
Because she's a pacifist. As long as she doesn't get her hands dirty, I guess she feels like it's fine. I guess 'cause they don't have to kill each other. They just have to kill copies of themselves, which is like killing each other. So you don't have to really kill each other. You just have to kind of like fake kill each other.
Pacifism.
Yeah, I think that's the definition, right?
Lavina and Richter manage to defeat the clones of herself and Kana. Lavina is glad they won the fight, but she did not enjoy killing herself and her friend. Just then, some hair pierces through Lavina. Richter builds a wall for protection, but the hair pierces through the wall and Richter as well. Richter tells Lavina to break her bottle, as they are both finished. Denkin arrives on the scene to see two golems carrying Lavina and Richter to the entrance. Denkin knows he would have not been of much help against this foe, but prepares to fight anyway. Just then, Ubel and Land show up. Ubel asks Denkin if beating Senza is a must. Denkin begins to explain the details, but Ubel stops him and repeats her question. Denkin says yes, and Ubel declares she will defeat the Zenza copy. Her cutting spell will cut through anything she imagines that can be cut. A simple defensive spell can stop it, since it's hard to imagine cutting a barrier. Hair, however, is easy to imagine cutting.
The visual of Lavina and Richter getting ambushed and stabbed was brutal. Like, Lavina was in such bad shape, watching her like spit blood out and everything. Richter was in bad shape, but Lavina was way worse off.
The show hasn't been too bad with its visuals either. You know what I mean? Like it hasn't been like too gory or things like that. But yeah, this the Senza clone scenes have definitely been different.
That's a good point, Sean, of like, it hasn't been too brutal, which makes when it is brutal even more shocking.
That's a good point.
I love how Ubel doesn't care about the details about the plan. She just needs to know, yes or no, do I have to defeat Sansa's replica? And then it was really cool to learn the ins and outs of Ubel's magic.
I'm not sure if we said it before, but this girl's crazy.
I think it has been mentioned once or twice.
The real Senza can sense Ubel fighting her copy. She knows exactly who will win this fight. We flash back to the second class mage exam where Ubel killed her proctor. He was a first class mage who created a magic cloak that prevented him from taking any damage. The goal of the test was to get him to take one step backwards. On Ubel's turn, she cleaved him in two. After failing, Zenza asks how she did it. Ubel explains that her big sister used to sew clothes. Ubel would watch her sister cut the fabric with scissors and loved the noise it made. Ubel knows cloth can be cut, so her magic can cut through the immovable cloak. Zenza thinks to herself that Ubel's mind is not like a normal person. She is a genius that relies on instinct. Ubel easily defeats the copy of Zenza.
Before I talk about this scene, the sound scissors make when they cut through wrapping paper and cloth, and you get that nice shh, is so damn satisfying.
I agree. Actually, I do like that sound.
And I want to shout out to the sound department for that moment because when they show the flashback, you can actually hear like the scissors on the wooden table as well. So like great job. It just sounds so realistic.
Ubel was so nonchalant about killing that first class mage. And like Senza did a good job explaining in the flashback why he was so powerful too. So it's like because it could have been very easy to just like brief over that, but it's like we need to show why this guy was so powerful. So it makes Ubel look more powerful. And then really nice little foreshadowing in the flashback with Ubel talking about Senza's hair.
This whole scene was crazy to me. The fact that Ubel couldn't beat Werble, right? But then she turns around and Senza was like the easiest. She buried her like completely. It was unbelievably easy for her to beat Senza, which is crazy to me because like is Werble stronger than Senza? Well, we're gonna get some insight on this soon, but I do wonder some stuff about Ubel. What if we're gonna get more on her? Because I'd like to know why she's so insane and just okay with murdering people. Because they said don't kill the person. She could have just like cut his sleeve and it would have counted probably. But she felt like she had to just cut the dude in half, and I'm like, why? Because every time I start to like her, I remember how much of a crazy killer she kind of is.
It kind of made me laugh. Like after she cuts him in half, she's like, "Oops, cut too deep."
I laughed at that too.
You guys are sick. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, "What do you mean cut too deep? You cut the guy in half." What was she expecting to do? Matoda runs into Werble's party and fills them in on the situation. Werble agrees to join up to help claim victory. Matoda asks his team to deal with Denkin's copy, while Matoda looks for Fern's copy. Eri warns Matoda that Fern is strong, but Matoda says she excels in restraint magic, which works very well on Fern. We cut to Matoda using a spell on Fern, who is unable to move and looks very upset about it.
And during that, Frieren is teasing her as well.
I really liked how Matoda explains that mage battles aren't necessarily about pure strength, but are more like rock, paper, scissors games, but with more weapons. This definitely helps explain how Frieren has lost in the past.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting where, like, they're just, you could be incredibly powerful like Frieren, but just come up against someone who is just like the complete opposite, and you just don't stand a chance. It's interesting.
I think about that sometimes, like when I'm playing trading card games, and sometimes I feel like I have a really good deck, and they just get absolutely destroyed by another deck, and I'm like, huh, bad matchup. Sometimes you talk about any game that's one on one, like boxing, right? Maybe this one boxer is so good against other people, but he's bad against another guy and he loses, and you're like, oh, what happened there? It's like a bad matchup, mismatch in skills. You excel in one area where someone is weak in another, and it's the perfect combo to just see that through. So yeah, definitely can see now why Free Run has lost.
Back to Ubel's group, they bump into a second copy of Ubel and Land. The real Land is brought to his knees by the binding spell, and Dankin spins around to see more copies of Lavina, Kana, and Laufin. The fun never ends in this place.
I was wondering if each person could only have one replica, or if the Spiegel could just keep creating copies of people.
I was under the impression it was only going to be one, so I was actually kind of surprised by this.
Frieren tells Fern she is going to create an opening for her. If Frieren shows an opening, her copy will show a bigger one. She casts a spell that looks like she is shattering reality. The copy responds with a version of Zoltrak that is black instead of white. Frieren shields herself, but the spell breaks through and damages her shoulder. The copy moves in at lightning speed, but Frieren has made the opening. Fern fires a blast that takes off one of the copy's arms. Frieren steps back as the copy readies a blast back at Fern. Too slow. Fern gives it her all and takes off the other arm and then fires a barrage of attacks. After the dust clears, the copy of Frieren is still standing. Fern decides to finish it off when she stares into the copy's eyes. Out of nowhere, Fern is launched across the room and into a wall breaking her staff into pieces. Fern has no idea what just happened or what kind of spell this is, since she cannot sense any mana. The copy has let itself completely open, and Frieren appears behind it and blows it up.
It was so touching to hear Frieren say she has underestimated Fern this entire time. And then to see Fern's reaction was so heartwarming.
She was recognized by her sensei. But for real though, it's almost like it's almost like if a parent says they're proud of you. I feel like it's kind of the same feeling for Fern, because I always say that Freeren's kind of like her mom, and Fern has like leveled up in Freeren's eyes big time. Maybe she'll let her use more than one spell.
That shattered reality attack was so cool looking. Like the entire visuals on this fight were top notch. And
It's
then the attack. Okay, Turtle.
I was gonna say it definitely made me think of like the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, because like when
Yeah.
Broly started to power up, we saw some like reality shattering, and it made me think of that.
Yeah, that's a good call. And that attack where Replica Freerun just looked at Fern and sent her flying was nuts.
Yeah, I was gonna say the staff of Fern's, the visual of Fern's staff being shattered, like that's what caught my eye first and foremost, and I was like, oh no. But also, Freeren gave that really serious look, and we don't get to see real Freeren give that serious look. Only the clone. So maybe we'll see real Freeren get serious one of these days.
Yeah, that whole scene freaked me out the first time I saw it. Frieren helps Fern up and tells her it has been 80 years since she last used that attack, whatever it was. They open the next door and destroy the Spiegel, and all the copies disappear. Ere says she can't move, and Sharf asks Warble to carry him yet again. Everyone makes their way to the bottom of the dungeon, where Senza congratulates them. Denkin asks where Frieren and Fern are. We cut to Frieren being eaten by a mimic yet again, and Fern is just kind of watching her instead of helping. Denkin seems exhausted that Frieren would fall for a mimic, but Laufin says curiosity gets the best of everyone sometimes. Outside the dungeon, we see Richter being healed by his golem. Adel is admiring the golem and all of their talents. Richter has no idea who she is.
I know they talked about the Spiegel, but I can't remember. Have we ever got a visual of the Spiegel prior?
I think in the one scene, they were showing it like in a book, if I remember correctly. And it's just like a diamond.
Yeah, in last episode they showed it on a part that I actually had to rewind and make sure I didn't miss something on my uh or my video glitched out. Like that's what I was worried about. Where they like everything's fine, and then really quickly, abruptly, all the music stops and they show what looks like the Spiegel, and then they flash back to the action. And I straight up like the way that the music just abruptly stopped and they briefly flashed to the Spiegel. I really thought there was something wrong with my video. uh, I did want to mention though that when you said you're like whatever spell that was by Freerun Turtle, it was the height of magic. That has to be what they're talking about, right? Like the episode title is what, the height of magic, right?
That's true.
Yeah, so I mean I feel like that has to be it, right? Like that, maybe it could just be like, oh look, like this is just the highest magic goes, but I'm like, what if that spell is the height of magic?
The magic is so high, you don't even use mana. That's how high it is.
It could be an extension of Ubal's type of magic, where you just kind of like, you just picture yourself flinging Fern into the wall and you just do it. It could just be, it could be reality warping, right? I mean, there's so much it could be. And I need to know more. Please explain it next episode.
Absolutely. I want to know more too.
I got a really good laugh at Warble carrying Airy and Sharf again, like at the end of the first test.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And what was even better about the mimic joke here was that wasn't the only mimic in the room. There wasn't a couple other mimics that were already destroyed already.
Implying everyone keeps diving into them.
Yes. I just started laughing. I'm like, oh, Frieren. Like, it's like, oh, treasure. Nope. Oh, treasure. Nope. Oh, treasure. Nope.
Speaking of treasure, do you think as part of the test, were they allowed to take some treasure with them, or do they have to leave it all there?
I don't see why you could not take it with you.
Yeah, it's not like Aladdin where like the cave is gonna like swallow you whole, right? You know, it's just treasure.
That brings us to the end of episode 26. What did you guys think of these two?
So, episode 1, I enjoyed, but the convenient plot points sort of took me out of it at times. But episode 2 more than made up for it. It also leaves me wondering, like, we have 2 episodes left in this season. Are they really going to be able to take care of the third test in 2 episode the third test and whatever else might happen, like any recognition or ceremony after the third test in 2 episodes?
They're gonna have to, right? I mean, I don't see how there's no way they can leave us hanging, right?
I also think that this means we aren't getting a tournament arc for the third test.
That's fine. Well, now that I know it's all about rock paper scissors, tournament arc might not be good, right? Because if you get that bad matchup,
That's a good point. Maybe it'll just be one giant battle royale. It's like you all fight each other, go. Last 4 standing become first class mages.
and Frieren casts the black hole spell and kills half of them in one hit.
Also interesting, we never did see a replica Fern.
Yeah, like she doesn't really do anything. I think we get one scene of like Matoda dusting her, but that's it.
I guess she just wasn't that relevant for the competition.
The real Fern ended up being, the most important piece, arguably.
What about you, Sean? What did you think?
These are two pretty good episodes. First episode wasn't as strong as the second one. First one was just like the setup for the second one, right? It was two-part episode kind of here, and I think that I really like the rock paper scissors magic system here. I like that it's not just like, if you just have the biggest mana, you are the strongest. Because there are shows that do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where they just sign you an arbitrary power level. I remember they did that. Not Dragon Ball Z was kind of like that for a bit. Then they stopped doing the power level thing. I remember, but then they started. I remember like Seven Deadly Sins. They started doing a power level thing, and I was like, "What are you guys doing? Like, we don't need power levels in this show. We just don't." So, I'm glad they don't just be like the one with the strongest mana or the most mana automatically wins every time. It's just not like that, and that's cool. I like that. So, I don't know. I like that explanation. All the visuals were fantastic. All the music's good, and I they once again they leave me with more questions than answers. And once again, once we stop recording here, I am going to have to watch the next one.
I think I would agree with both of you. Episode 25, I think, is good, but they do have some convenient things that happen for the sake of the plot. My first watch, I didn't really pick up, but, watching it again and then talking to you guys about it, it's like, yeah, that kind of doesn't really make sense. But episode 26, like the visuals alone, just crush it. So, and again, props to Madhouse Studio for doing incredible animation work through this whole entire series. But episode 26, I think honestly, it's one of the better episodes that we've seen in the entire show. It's just visually, it's really great. It does ask more questions that we don't get answers to prep for the future, I assume. But yeah, I think they're both good, but 26 especially, I think is one of the best in the entire series that we've seen so far. There's only 2 left, but 26 is really good. And now it is time for the waifu of the week. Mike, who is your waifu of the week and why?
I feel like there's 2 very obvious choices this week. So I'm gonna go with Fern. Just because she was like she played such an important role in the fight. We didn't get to see her use non-basic attacks, unfortunately. But if it wasn't for her, would they have been able to defeat Replica Frieren? I don't think so.
I would agree. I think I'm going to step up next, and my waifu of the week is going to be the other obvious choice, Frieren. Frieren's a great character. The show is literally named after her. But watching her battle herself was absolutely wild to see. For most of the show, Frieren has barely done any crazy magic attacks. She's fired a Zoltrak here and there, but she's kind of like forced Fern to do most of the heavy lifting in order to train her. So to see Frieren have to cut loose because she's fighting herself was insane. I mean, even the battle against Aura, like, she looked pretty cool, but she didn't really do a whole lot there. She just let her immense mana weigh down the scales. Here, she's cutting loose. She's casting fire spells and black hole spells and lightning spells and summoning a golem, shattering reality. It's like, holy crap. Then her copy did that, the look of death, the height of magic. Like, what is that? I definitely want more information on that. So I was very excited and freaked out to see that hit Fern of all people. I'm like, please don't kill Fern. Don't do that. So great 2 episodes. Frieren did some awesome stuff, and I can't wait to see more of her do, more battling in the future and really cut loose. Sean, who is your waifu of the week?
Those two are the obvious choices, but I personally went with Fake Ren. The fake Frieren. The clone. Seeing Fake Ren just blast Fern with, what I'm going to call the height of magic, was just unbelievable. As Terrell said, I was actually a little worried for Fern that she was going to have to get kicked out of she was going to have to get kicked out of the competition or something, or she was going to be like horribly mangled. Sometimes in anime they'll do one of those visuals where someone has you with telekinesis and then they just like break your arms and legs. Stuff like that happens, and I was like, please don't hurt Fern too badly. So I was kind of worried about, but yeah, I mean, copy Frieren was casting all the same stuff regular Frieren was, and looked cool while doing it. So Fake Ren, you're the waifu of the week.
Thank you all for joining us this week as we watched Frieren Beyond Journey's End. We hope you join us next week for episode 54 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will watch the last 2 episodes, 27 and 28 of Frieren. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. If you are listening on YouTube, please like the video, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, and subscribe. Mike, tell the people where we can be found.
The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube.
Very dramatic. Thank you. Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you next week.